It begins with silence, the kind of silence that only belongs to forgotten highways and empty gas stations. The fluorescent lights hum above, casting pale halos over cracked pavement, while the faint buzz of moths colliding with glass echoes in the background. In a place like this, it is easy to believe you are invisible, that no one is watching, that the night belongs only to you. But sometimes, silence hides something else. Eyes that linger too long, footsteps that match your rhythm, a voice that says your name even when you never gave it away. Meredith was 24 years old when she took the job at a small gas station off County Road 11. The station was so ordinary, most travelers never noticed it until their fuel gauge forced them to stop. She liked the predictability. Night shifts gave her space to breathe. She stocked shelves, refilled the coffee pot, scribbled casual notes on the whiteboard to announce deals, and kept the back room locked as a routine precaution. At 1 a.m, the quiet felt almost protective, as if nothing dangerous could reach her in a place so forgotten. But routine is the easiest pattern to track, and on one Thursday night, her routine was interrupted. The door chimed. A man stepped inside. He was in his mid-40s, though fatigue seemed to drag his features lower, and he wore a green coat that looked weathered from years of wear. His hair was messy, his lips dry and cracked, as though smiling had long been abandoned. Instead of moving toward the coffee machine or the snacks like other late-night customers, he lingered near the counter, watching. Meredith greeted him with the polite smile she reserved for uneasy moments. He tilted his head slightly, as if measuring her response, and asked in a neutral tone if she always worked so late. She admitted that she did, mostly, and expected him to continue on his way. Instead, he offered a smile that never reached his eyes and told her that he had noticed. He had passed through a few times, he said, and it was always her at the counter. The words unsettled her more than she wanted to reveal, but she brushed it off, murmuring something about small towns. Then came the moment that froze her. He spoke her name. Meredith, right? She wasn't wearing a name tag. For a beat, her stomach twisted. She wanted to ask how he knew, but before she could, he offered an explanation. He pointed toward the whiteboard behind her where she had written, "Cinnamon coffee is back." He said he had noticed her handwriting. Most people dotted their I's with circles, but she used slashes. It was specific, thoughtful, memorable. He said it with a strange familiarity, as if cataloging her habits. Then he told her his name, Paul. He didn't buy anything. He just nodded and walked back into the fog. The silence returned, but it no longer felt protective. It felt compromised. Paul's appearances became a rhythm of their own. Not every night, not often enough to be called stalking outright, but enough. Enough that Meredith stopped trusting coincidence. Sometimes he stepped inside, lingered at the counter without buying a thing. Sometimes he parked at the edge of the lot, headlights off, engine idling, just far enough to blur into the shadows. When he did come in, his words carried a weight that pressed against her chest. One night, he leaned on the counter, surveying the small store, and asked if it must get lonely. Just her, out there in the dark, no one else for miles. His tone wasn't mocking, wasn't even threatening. It was neutral. That neutrality made it worse. He asked if she ever got scared being a woman alone at night. The question sat between them like smoke, impossible to wave away. She forced herself to ask if he needed anything else. He tilted his head again, studying her the way one studies a puzzle, and then he said something that turned unease into dread. He told her it was smart to keep the backroom door locked. He said he had noticed she checked it almost every night around 2 a.m. He had been watching not just her presence, but her habits. The following week, Meredith returned from her short break. and found something sitting on the counter. A Polaroid. The photograph showed her outside, refilling the windshield washer bin. It was close. Too close. The kind of close that meant someone had been standing nearby, lens focused directly on her. On the photograph, a red circle had been drawn around the way she dotted the "EDI" in the word windshield written on the bin's label. There was no note, but the message was clear. He was always there, even when she couldn't see him. The realization hollowed her chest. Fear no longer came from possibilities. It came from proof. When Paul entered again, Meredith's voice trembled, but she confronted him. She told him to leave. She told him that if he stayed, she would call the police. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He nodded, almost apologetic, and admitted he had been too forward. She accused him of following her. He didn't deny it. Instead, he twisted the words. He told her he thought she was someone who was often misunderstood, and that maybe she would appreciate a man who truly paid attention. She told him it wasn't attention. It was obsession. He didn't flinch. Instead, he listed more details. He said it would be easier if he smiled and bought a soda every night. Would it make him more normal if he pretended not to notice that her shoes were a half size too big, or that her left eyelid twitched when she was tired? Each word was a scalpel, cutting away at her illusion of safety. By then her hands shook as she dialed 911. Paul didn't resist. He simply stood there, waiting, as if this was inevitable. When police arrived, they searched his car. What they found stripped the air of any remaining comfort. A notepad filled with observations, dates, times, Meredith's work schedule, notes about her clothing, her groceries, the way she walked. One page was dedicated solely to her name, written over and over, the letters pressed harder each time until the ink bled into scribbles. He told the officers the same thing he had told Meredith. He said he simply noticed things. He insisted he was curious. But curiosity written in obsessive loops is not harmless. It is hunger. It is ownership, disguised as attention. The restraining order went through within a week. Meredith was transferred to a new station 2 hours away. She stopped working nights. She changed her apartment curtains. She carried her keys between her fingers when walking to her car. She locked the bathroom door when showering, even though she lived alone. Safety became not a feeling, but a ritual. Yet fear does not vanish with distance. It follows, reshaping the way the world looks. On late drives home, when headlights linger too long behind her, the muscles in her neck tighten. When strangers say her name, she doesn't just hear it. She hears Paul, practicing it, savoring it. She escaped his presence, but not his shadow. What makes this story chilling is not just the events, but the realization it carries. Paul was no ghost. He was no supernatural entity. He was a man, and he believed he was harmless. He believed noticing details excused obsession. He believed memorizing her life was something valuable to offer. He justified himself until his presence seemed ordinary, almost polite. That is the most frightening part, how ordinary evil can disguise itself. The lessons are clear. Instincts matter. Meredith's gut told her something was wrong from the very beginning, and she was right. Details are red flags. A stranger should not know your schedule, your habits, or your handwriting quirks. Obsession always hides behind excuses. When someone says they are just observant, just curious, but their curiosity invades your privacy, that is not harmless. And finally, survival is action. Meredith's decision to call the police may have saved her from something far worse. Meredith's story is not about supernatural horror. It is about the horror of being seen too closely, the horror of being catalogued without consent, the horror of realizing someone has rewritten your name into their obsession. Ghosts may haunt the imagination, but stalkers haunt the ordinary. They walk into gas stations, they smile, they wait, they linger, and long after they are gone, their presence remains. Real horror does not need shadows or claws. Sometimes it only needs eyes, eyes that never look away. And once those eyes fix on you, you may never feel safe in the quiet again.